Hello Booktube, my name is Patrick Campion and welcome to my new Booktube channel, Beg, Steal, or Borrow Books. I'm going to start myself off the way all newbies should start themselves off on Booktube, which is with the Booktube Newbie Tag. It's a list of questions that they ask, or that one is asked, to answer when one is new on Booktube. However, I've watched a lot of the other newbies do this newbie tag questions, and to me it just didn't seem like the questions were in the right order. So as you will find out if you come to be a subscriber, which I highly recommend, to my Booktube channel, that I don't necessarily do things the way that other people like to see them done, because I like to do my own thing. So that, and I also figured that if there's going to be some way of, or some place where it's safe to rearrange something and edit it and give a little critical feedback, it would be on Booktube. So I'm going to go ahead and start my first editing in my first video by editing the Booktube Newbie Tag. So in the order that I think the questions make sense, I'm going to start with number one. What kind of books do you like to read? Historical fiction. But to elaborate, historical fiction is a genre, kind of. There are plenty of other subgenres of historical fiction. Of course, there are historical fiction novels that are mystery, that are romance, that have all different kinds of elements involved, like many other genres of books. There are also novels written that I would call more period pieces, whereas they take place in a known and recorded time, and but the characters are all completely fictional, and none of the characters come into contact with any historical figures. Although it's a time period piece, so it could also be historical fiction. But I read it all. So anything that is historical fiction, even history, nonfiction history, because sometimes reading these historical fiction novels, you come across characters that you say, gee, that's a really great character. I wonder if they were actually quite like that in life, if it's been recorded in history. And if it has, I dig up those books, and I like to do a little bit of in-depth investigating myself to find out how close the author was to recreating what's been known about that particular historical figure, or whether they took a lot of license to make it fit for the novel that they were writing. Because I'm a historical fiction geek, and that's the way I roll. Number two, when did you start reading? Well, I can remember reading and writing before I went to kindergarten. So whatever age that is, 4, 5. And that's because I was very lucky, and then I was a member of a big family. I'm one of 7 children, and mom and dad were there. And so I had a lot of teachers, because I have older brothers and sisters, and of course mom and dad. And it's what I call my living room education, was what I got at home from my family members. And so I was reading and writing, and got right into reading and writing. I did both pretty equal throughout my life until, yeah, this gray bearded guy. Okay, when did you start reading? Why do you love reading? Well, there's so many reasons why I love to read, as I'm sure there are many reasons why you love to read. So I think we all have that same answer in common. I will say, why do I love to read historical fiction or history is very specific to my circumstance. And the reason I like to read history is that primal need that all human beings have, which is, who are we, where do we come from, and how did we come to be where we are today? And to me, history and historical fiction, by extension, answer those questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? How do we come to be where we are today? So that's why I love reading that. What book or series got you into reading? I remember when I was young, and this is a kid of the 80s in me. Um, this is prior to big video game systems. You know, you still had to go to the arcade and plug quarters into a machine. Um, and this is prior to a really good home system. We had like Atari, like little paddles, you know, hitting a ball back and forth. But to really get into things, you had to read books, and the books that were the deepest for a kid my age then were these choose your own adventure books. You read a couple of pages, you get to the end of the page. If you want to do this, turn to page so and so. If you want to choose to do this, turn to this other page, and then you continue your story. So I remember reading those, and I was fairly young. I mean, I'll say 7 or 8 or so. So I was already pretty well engrossed in reading by that age. But I do remember, like I said, I'm one of a big family, and our financial circumstances changed for the better when I was about that age, about 9 or so. And I remember for the first time I had an air conditioner. Not central AC in the house by no means, but the kids, we all got an air conditioner, a window air conditioner, in our rooms. So I'm originally from New York during the sweltering New York summer. I remember having that AC in there and cranking it up on a Saturday afternoon and sitting down with Treasure Island. And the cool air blowing and the seclusion of having my door closed and the hot world outside and me in my cool room and reading about the hot, you know, Caribbean in the book and all that good stuff. That really hooked me on reading regularly as a discipline and as a pleasure. Where do you read? I read everywhere. And I mean everywhere. I wash my hands. Why did you start this channel? Okay. I thought it would be interesting to get involved with a community that loves to do what I do, that likes to read what I read, that believes what I believe. And that's always, you know, that wanted to be in the club. So I saw that there was a club, and I invited myself to join. I didn't wait for anybody, because that's the way I roll. So I started the channel to really be able to share my take on the books that I read, and hopefully to meet other people who enjoy reading those same type of books, so that we can have a bit of an exchange of conversation. I can turn you on to some things that you haven't seen, and you can turn me on to some things that I haven't had the opportunity to get my hands on. Okay, so that was why did you start this channel? Let's see what else I have here. What are you most excited about? What are you most excited for about this new channel? Let me take a little sippy here. Nothing like vodka. Just kidding, it's soda. It could be vodka, but I think it's soda. What are some fun and unique things that you can, what are you most excited about for this channel? So I'm excited about, well, just like I said, being able to contact people and talk with other people who have the same nerdish fetishes that I have for historical fiction. And that is that. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Well, hopefully me. Hopefully I'm fun and unique. But besides that, I think I have a different take than some of the other booktubers I've seen. You know, it seems like there's a lot of people who do a lot of young adult type of books, and that's fine. But I'm older than those people. I didn't grow up reading Harry Potter books, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I liked the films. The books were way, you know, below my reading level when they came out, and I don't think I'll ever read them. But I think the things that I read and the take that I have on them will be unique. Hopefully, my ability to see the obtuseness of any given situation, to dig the comedy out of the ludicrous, and to to be able to express myself in a way that is different than some of the other booktubers that you've seen. I hope that will be fun and unique. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel? You know, I've seen a lot of people answer this question with putting up videos on a regular basis would be the challenge that I think will be. And that's, maybe I might. I tend to think that the bigger challenge for me will be trying to narrow down the topics, like trying to not want to do all the things that I want to do at once. So whether I get them up regularly or not, gee, I'm going to try. I hope. But for me, the challenge will be to narrow it down and to really try and put some content out there that people are interested in. And hopefully, as we go forward, I'd certainly like to do some live streaming. It doesn't seem like there's any booktubers that do much in the way of live streaming. And to me, that's where I work best. I've been a performance my whole life, musician, singer, songwriter, writer, actor, performer. So being in front of an audience, interacting with people live in the moment is where I do my best work, and hopefully where I can give some of the best content, because there's plenty more to reading books and giving book reviews or doing book haul videos and all that kind of thing. I think the human interaction is what a lot of the people came to BookTube for. And as much as leaving a comment on somebody is a interaction, it's not really the interaction that is the highest and best use of BookTube. So in the future, when I get some subscribers and all that kind of stuff, I would love to have a regular little get-together every week, and at least, and talk with everybody and do a little bit of live streaming and that kind of thing, and see what's on everybody's mind. So challenges: try not to do everything at once. Story of my life. So then the last question for my Booktube Newbie Tag, and again, if you hit the like button, that'd be awesome to welcome me to BookTube, and if you hit the subscribe button, that'd be double awesome. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I've certainly gotten into watching quite a few of you, and if you haven't discerned yet that I am into what's different, I like what's different. So I don't have too much in the way of questions about booktubers. Well, I guess I have one. I watch Steve Donahue. I like him a lot. He reminds me of me when I'll become him. Did you follow me? Okay. But Steve has some he has some eclectic tastes, and I guess, Steve, is there a book you haven't read yet? He's got quite the impressive resume. All right, so that did it. Again, I'm Patrick Campion. This is Beg, Steal, or Borrow Books, where I'll be talking about historical fiction novels, and hopefully I'm going to come up with my first book review on A Darker Sea. It's a story about the War of 1812. It follows a character that, this is actually the second book in the series, so we'll talk a little bit about the first to get you into reading that, but this stands alone by itself, Darker Sea by James L. Haley, and I'll do that review soon and get it up so you can peruse. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time.